Okay, guys, gonna do how to tie a Marabou jig video. Been doing these for quite a few years. Fish in Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, fairly often in the summer. And one of my favorite baits to use is a Marabou jig. So for today, we're gonna go through the whole process. This is just a H&H Lure Company 1/8 ounce jig head, red. Red is not my favorite color to use, but it's what we'll use for now. So 1/8 ounce. Okay, so I'm not too picky on jig heads. This is an H&H Lure Company. I've had a lot of good luck with them. Really, the only one I haven't had good luck with is Eagle Claw. Their hooks straighten out pretty easy on good sized trout, so you definitely don't want that to happen. I've also used the H2O jig heads. They work just fine. Or you can find some that use the Owners or Gamakatsu, and obviously those are cream of the crop. So let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to tie one of my favorite color combinations today. It is black and white. So I got black Marabou feathers and I got my white Marabou feathers. We're going to mix it up a little bit today. So the first thing you want to do, get your thread. And I always like to use black. We're going to wrap a base around the neck here. 3 or 4 wraps. Sometimes on jigs it takes a little bit more. So I'm going to do a little bit more just for today's sake. And then once you get your wraps, make a little loop knot with your fingers, just like that. You're going to put it over the head. And that's just going to tie a little knot to hold that thread on there. Cinch it. Boom. Okay. This leftover thread here, we're just going to cut that off because we do not need that. So we're going to tie one of my favorite color combinations, which is black and white. So I got my black Marabou here. Beautiful. Just beautiful. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap my bobbin up a little bit because I don't need that much thread out. You make more precise jigs and stuff like that when you have less of that thread hanging out there. So first thing you're going to do, if you look here, through the middle of this feather is obviously a stem. I'm not going to use the stem. I want to use the feathers on the sides. So the best way to do that is you grab a good amount. I mean, I grab about, 1/2 inch maybe. And I got it like that. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut it as close to the stem as I can. And what you end up with is just a little group of feathers, just like that. Stems are out right here, and they're perfect for just putting on top of this jig. So first thing we got to do is get the top. So I'm going to put black on the top of this jig, and I'm going to tie this. I'm just going to wrap it. You're trying to get all those stems in so you don't leave any that kind of will fall out. So I'm going to put them as close to the head as possible, and I'm just going to wrap a couple times just to hold that feather on there, not over wrap it. So there's the top right there. And then what I like to do is I get my white. So same thing. I'm going to find the stem in the middle. I'm going to get a little bit of feather here with my pointer finger and my thumb. And I'm going to use my scissors and cut it as close to the stem as possible. What I got is a group of white feathers, just like that. I'm going to put them on the left side. Not over the top of the black, but on the left side. Let me turn myself here for you. So I'm going to put them on the left side just like this. And I'm going to wrap over the top. And cinch those feathers in there on the left side. Remember, you don't need to over wrap it. Just something to hold those feathers on. And then what I like to do is, whatever I do on the top on the left side, I'm going to do that on the right side of the jig as well. That's just one of my personal preferences. I've had a lot of good luck with color schemes like this. So I'm going to get another set of feathers here. There's just a little group of white. And I'm going to put them on the right side just like this. Stems as close to the head as possible, but not over the top of the eye or anything. You want them just to be right below the head there where the thread starts. So I'm going to wrap it. Remember, I'm not overlapping that black. I want it to be right on the side of it. So I'm just going to wrap that in there. And at this point, I'm starting to clean up the excess feathers a little bit. So just trying to keep those under the thread, you know, so they're not stray feathers just sticking out randomly. And that'll be good right there for now, and I'll clean the rest up later. So what you got is you got black down the middle, and then you got white on this left side and white on this right side. And if you notice what I just did, I just tied another one of those loop knots. I kind of do those periodically just to help keep the thread, you know, cinched in there really good. Now at the end, it really doesn't matter because I'm going to put fingernail polish or super glue on the thread to seal it. Now I'm going to flip the jig over. And so now you can see we don't have anything on the bottom. So sometimes what I like to do is I'll put, since I had black on the top, I'll put black in the middle on the bottom. But I also like to mix it up, and I'll put white on the bottom in the middle, and then I'll put black on both sides. So that's what I'm going to do for this one. Make sure you don't breathe very heavy when you're making jigs because you're going to blow feathers everywhere. Don't have a fan on, anything like that. All right, so I got my white feather here. I got a good group. I'm going to cut it as close to the stem as possible without cutting the stem. And I'm going to get those stems in line with my pointer finger and my thumb. And I'm going to put them right below the head in line with the black that I did on the other side in the middle. So I'm going to wrap that white in there. Boom, 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 boom. And we can clean that up later. Now, like we said, we're going to do black on the left and the right side on the bottom. And we're going to mix it up a little bit. So it's going to be the opposite. Essentially, it's going to be the opposite of what the top is. And I just like to do that because it kind of creates a flash from below the jig. And then if they're kind of go to the side of it, they see that color contrast. So here's some black. We're going to put that on the left side. And wrap it in there really good. Remember, we're not overwrapping this thing yet. There's just no need. We're just trying to get those feathers in there and we can clean the rest up later. And now I'm going to need another black for my right side of my jig. I'm going to get some feathers here. Close to the stem as possible. Nice little group there. And I'm going to put them on the right side right here. Cinch them in. And now what we're going to do is we're done essentially with all the feathers. We've got plenty of feathers in. So I'm going to start cleaning up my jig and really trying to tie those loose feathers into this thread. And remember to keep your bobbin tight. So I'm not letting a lot of thread out here. There's just no need for it. You make way more precise wraps when you have less thread out. So I'm really just trying to wrap my bobbin as tight to the jig as possible. So when I think I got that side good, I'm going to wrap it back around this way, move my vise around this way, and I'm going to try and get the other side and try and wrap those feathers in and tie it all together. And you can make it as clean as you want. Ultimately, the fish probably aren't going to care that there's an excess feather sticking out of your thread, but I like to make mine as neat as possible. I know I'm not as neat as some of the professional guys and stuff. I do like to make them neat. So I'm going to make another loop knot, cinch that, and then we're done, guys. And I'm going to take my scissors, cut it as close to that as possible, and then we're done. Now all we got to do is seal that thread. I got some fingernail polish, and we're just going to take a little bit of that. Do not spill it. We're going to take a little bit of that and put it on that thread. What that's going to do is just really give that thread a nice coat, keep it sealed in. It'll make your jigs last longer. You know, with trout and their teeth and everything like that. I feel like if you don't do that, your thread comes unraveled, and that's the worst thing when you got a jig that's really catching fish and your jig starts unraveling. So I always coat mine with clear nail polish or super glue. You can use either one, and that really just makes your jigs last a lot longer. So we got the black in the middle and then the white on the sides on top, and then we got it opposite on the bottom. So white in the middle, black, black. So you got a nice little contrast of colors there. Black and white is one of my favorite combinations. It's proven. Caught a lot of big fish on this type of color. But color, like we always say, is a confidence deal. So find your color that gives you confidence, and then tie a bunch of jigs that are in that color. That way you always got a nice little arsenal. So there's the first jig right there, a Marabou jig in black and white. Cool, huh? Okay guys, I hope you enjoy my breakdown of how I tie Marabou jigs. I don't claim to be the greatest fly tyer of all time. I don't claim to know everything about fly tying, but I do tie a lot of jigs, and I've had a lot of success on jigs that I've tied. Marabou jigs don't take a lot of time. Sit down in the winter sometime when you're watching football, not doing anything. Tie groups of 3 of your favorite color combinations of jigs. Find that go-to color combination of something that you really have confidence in. Mine is black and white. I like black and yellow. I like gray and white. Those are my top 3. I also really like peach colored jigs for brook trout and other stuff like that. Peach has really done really well for me. So I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys have any questions about what I was doing, just make sure you leave that in the comments below. If this is your first time checking out That's a Good Fish, we do a lot of fishing videos, but we also do breakdowns of stuff. Click that subscribe button so you don't miss anything in the future. Thanks for watching.